Hey there, the Z6III is here, and I think the picture that got released yesterday, I think it's picture of a real Z6III. Let me take you through 7 observations that I have on the picture that got released. Now on the screen you can see the picture that got released yesterday. The first thing to observe is the resolution. It's sharp, it's got a very clear image, and it doesn't look like an AI created image. It looks real. So to begin with, the quality of the picture tells you a lot about the authenticity of the picture. If you also look at the tape that was pasted on the camera, it looks like that the gum or the glue on the tape are at the borders, at the top and the bottom borders of that tape, leaving some space in the middle where the glue wouldn't actually touch whatever is written beneath it. So maybe they kind of attach to a special sort of tape so that it doesn't smudge the branding. So it looks like there was care taken to protect the Z6III branding on top of this plate. Now there are other things to notice here as well. It's got the branding on the top just like the Z8 and the Z9. So that's a continuation from the current XP7 generation of Nikon Z cameras. You see the branding here on top. So it's a similar sort of design. You can just look at the camera from the top and understand what camera it is. I think Nikon is doing that because ergonomically, by the look and feel, the bodies are going to look similar. So possibly they want to just have the branding right on the top. So if you have a multiple bodies that you're working with, you can easily recognize which body you're going to pick up next. The sensor mark, notice that the sensor mark was on the right on the Z6 II. The sensor mark is that sign on top that looks like a black hole image. Now on the original Z6 and the Z6 II, the sensor marker was on the right of the mic on top of the camera. On this one, on this image, you can see that the marker is on the left of the built-in mic, just like you have it on the Z9 and on the Z8. The mic has also been pushed forward towards the grip, just like the Z8. As you can see, the mic is actually, towards the grip. It is not in the middle, it's towards the grip. On the picture, if you note, if you see the leaked picture, you'll see that the mic is towards the grip. So you kind of notice those small little things that align this new picture with the existing bodies, and that is very interesting. Maybe Nikon is trying to get to a similar sort of design philosophy going forward, and we see signs of that here. You can also clearly see the dial at the bottom of the picture. The original Z6 had a plastic dial, so had the Z6 II, and some wanted it to be of higher quality the next time Nikon launches another Z6 body, but we do not see a lot of detail there. It looks like it's a dial that's outside of the body. It's not sort of inside and rubbery like on the Z8 and the Z9, probably on the top, making the camera, not so large. It's probably going to be less in height because they're saving a few millimeters there. On the original Z6 and the Z6 II, the exposure compensation button was actually closer to the shutter. See here, this is the Z8. The exposure compensation button is not going towards the shutter here, right? You have some space here. The button could have been placed there, and on the Z6 and Z6 II, Z7 and Z7 II, that's exactly where the exposure compensation button was. But in the new picture, as you can see, it's not there. It's just beside the ISO button. So it's not towards the front. It's somewhere closer to this curve here, right? So that's another, you just see that the design is getting homogenized. Things are getting sort of aligned to each other nicely. My 7th point, note that on the Z8, the top plate doesn't have space next to the mic for branding. That's because either the top display is significantly larger and wider, or the EVF housing, this thing here, is larger and wider. I think it is the EVF that has gotten bigger, so you're likely to see a much brighter screen. We are still not sure if it's going to have a high resolution EVF, but you have heard that it's going to have a high resolution EVF. Now in conclusion, the exposure compensation button placement tells us that the grip is redesigned, and branding placement tells us that the top display is that of the Z6, and the protruding dial tells us that it's got the same exposed dial, unlike that on the Z8 and the Z9. But we don't know exactly how the dial looks like as yet. So I think the Z6III launch is very, very close. It's going to happen anytime now. This looks like an authentic picture. I think this kind of leaks don't come out of a company just like that. I think it's a plant. I think Nikon is giving us a hint and a signal that it's very near. Remember, the image actually came out on 31st March. So I'm expecting some announcement to happen by the middle of April. And I think sometime in May, we are going to see the camera hit the market. And therefore, I'm quite optimistic that we're going to see the camera come in very soon. Now, let's do a quick recap of what the Z6III is expected to be based on the rumors that we have been hearing for the past 3 months. We have heard that it's going to be a 24.5 megapixel camera, BSI sensor. We don't know whether it's going to be a stacked sensor or not. We have also heard that it's going to have a high shutter speed of 1/16,000 of a second. Is that being achieved because it's a stacked sensor, or is that being achieved because it's, the mechanical sensor is more efficient? We don't know. I think it's going to be an optimized and faster sensor, probably the faster sensor in this price category. On the other hand, I have also heard from some sources that there is pressure on Nikon. There is conversation there that the Z6III should be a 30-something megapixel camera. Logically speaking, it's only some 10-12% increase in the total size of pixels. But at times you need to crop in only by that percentage. At times you need to only crop in by 15-20%, just to align the image correctly, just to reorient the image correctly. You're still going to be left with a 20 to 24 megapixels image, even after that basic cropping, just to as part of your edit. So I think a 30-something megapixel camera makes sense, and Nikon is aware of that, is what I'm told. Now it remains to be seen what we actually get at the end of the day. The EVF is probably going to be better and different, because that's one thing that we've been hearing consistently. It's going to be 5.5 million dots EVF. Let's see. It's likely to have the same, vari-angle tilt screen like on the Z8 and the Z9, but I think Nikon should actually provide either a A7 R5 type of screen or a flip out screen. The reason I say that is because, well, I personally like a tilt screen like this, but a vari-angle screen is required for this price, at this price point, for hybrid shooters who are used to Canon and Sony. So if Nikon is actually looking to get users from those brands, I think vari-angle screen, not vari-angle, I mean a flip out screen is going to become important. Remember, look at the Fuji bodies, the X-H2 and the X-H2S. Even they are going with flip out screens. So that is another controversial thing. Let's see what happens there. We have heard that we're going to see 20 frames per second in RAW. We've also heard that it's going to do 120 frames per second in JPEG. So again, you're seeing so much capability that is close to the performance of a Z8 and Z9. You're likely to also see better overall autofocus, right? And it's probably not going to have the bird detect when it first comes out. And there's this rumor that we're going to see that later as part of a firmware update. It's likely to have more AF points, and it's going to have an 8-stop VR, which is going to be even better than the ZF. And the ZF is already fantastic. I mean, it is tremendous. It's definitely better than the Z8, let me tell you that. I think the body is going to be slightly heavier than the current Z6 II, and it's going to have a lot of features when it comes to video. It's going to do NRAW, both in standard colors and also in log. It'll do that in 6K 60, it'll do 6K 60, 4K 120, 4K 120 is going to come with some crop. I just wish that it's slight crop. It's not like I'm okay if the crop factor is 1.1. I don't want a 1.5 crop factor because this is the opportunity for Nikon to actually push the barrier in this category and really emerge as a very powerful solution in this price point. So I think that's where I'm going to leave the conversation today. If you like the channel, if you like the video, click like and subscribe to the channel. Help me reach 6,000 subscribers by the end of uh, in about a month. And I've gone slow, a little slow in the last couple of weeks, but I'm going to come back soon with a lot more videos on this channel, and I'm going to go very consistent on this channel going forward. You're going to see some Fuji stuff coming up. I'm going to do a video on the hell that I've taken the Fuji X-T5 through. I mean, the Fuji X-T5, I took it through a very difficult situation. Lots of dust, pollution, water, mud, stuff like that. And I want to tell you what happened to my X-T5. That's going to be an interesting episode. So look forward to that. And yeah, subscribe to the channel. See you with another one soon.